Ooh, I think I'm live. I don't know. I have not done a video in 2 weeks because I've been doing a lot of traveling, and so it's actually really nerve-wracking doing this, and my hair is a mess. I'm gonna fix it. But, let me know. I'm not starting off this rant angry, by the way, and partly it's gonna be a quiet rant because my significant other is upstairs sleeping. Can you do a quiet rant? I don't know. But no, I have a lot of red meat for you coming up, so do not be deceived by this gentle intro. It is late. Can you hear Hey, Constantine, or is it Constantine? But, can you hear me? Will you let me know? Can you hear This microphone should be working, so it should be decent sound. If it sounds like I'm talking from the bottom of a well, then we're not good. So, anyway, there's always a lag in the chat, but I'm gonna wait for you to tell me, all 12 of you, if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yay, awesome, and hello. Stop yelling. Oh, man, seriously, like, he's not gonna be happy if he wakes up. He does not he First of all, he doesn't think that it's good for me to be staying up this late doing live streaming, and it absolutely is not, because then it's hard for me to go to sleep after, and I should be sleeping. But my problem is I'm not a morning person or even really an afternoon person. I'm a night person. And so, I go to work most of the time at 4 o'clock. I don't get off until like 10:30, 11, sometimes 11:30, sometimes 12. And so like I've got a pretty narrow window of when I actually feel up to doing this. So anyway, but it is possible we will get interrupted by someone who is not pleased at the situation. I really should fix my hair a little bit though. So I did get off work just a few hours ago and just discovered, I'll talk to you while I'm fixing the hair. And to those who are joining, yes, there is a rant incoming. Yes, I'm going to talk about Jay-Z, but I've got to get in the right state of mind and appearance for that. So what I'm going to do with this actually is I'm still fixing my hair. I'm going to edit all of this shit out and just keep the good stuff. And then I'm also going to probably edit in like some videos and things. All right. I don't think it really matters how my hair looks, actually. People are going to be interested more in the message, I think. Oh, I like that one piece, though. That one. I don't know. Okay. So y'all, I'm not going to be, like I said in the description, I'm not going to be paying much attention to the chat. And I know a lot of you are like, well, you never do. So yeah, it is par for the course, unfortunately. But if you want to chat to each other, I'll occasionally try to look at what's going on, but you don't need to super chat me. I'm not going to read them. This is just to get some stuff out because I was afraid that if I went to sleep and then try to do this in the morning when I don't feel like it, and also like when the emotions have sort of settled from the day, then I wouldn't be able to do this. So it is a run through, and I'm going to take it and edit it into another video. So, okay. Actually, give me 20 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, here we go. Move this a little bit. Okay, so I've got several things to rant about here. All right, everybody. I'm going to talk about Jay-Z, the Jay-Z situation. I'm going to talk about other revelations today, the Cuomo situation. Haven't talked about that in a while, but big news, actually the last few days, but I just announced it today in the Cuomo situation. And then the Duke, do you remember the whole Duke lacrosse thing? This was like the original Me Too hoax. When did this happen? Like in 2012? Well, that accuser, after causing all of the fucking trouble that she caused, she finally came out and admitted, oh, yeah, I lied about that. Now, the only consolation that we have in this situation is that these guys at Duke who were falsely accused, they got some great lawyers and they sued Duke for a shit ton of money. And they got, I believe, $100 million settlements, or at least I think the total settlement was like 130, and then they got to split that up. That's pretty nice, right? Charleston White. Well, that is such a sweet, I just caught your comment there. I catch the best ones like this one, right? How can one woman be so perfect in looks, morals, and intelligence? Your husband is a lucky man. Well, I'm going to say a couple of things. There are many sides to me that you don't see on YouTube, and that he could probably educate you about if he'd had a few drinks or some sodium pentothal. But I do appreciate you. And let's just say that I'm right on some things, and on other things I'm still learning. But thank you for that comment. So I want to talk about, what was it I just said, the Duke lacrosse thing. And then I also want to say some things to Tim Pool, a little tongue in cheek here. But if I don't think Tim watches my show, but if any of Tim's fans are watching, or Brett, if you're up late, Brett never goes to sleep. He's like me. He's a night owl. Then you might find this kind of funny. But anyway, all right. So I'm not going to go through the video of the interview that just came out, the NBC interview that just came out in the last several hours with Jay-Z's Accuser. That's right. They have an interview. If you haven't seen it, they have an interview, and I'll show it later. I just don't want to show it right now because I got to get this out. They have an interview out with this woman who has sued him. Like, this is the one lawsuit that's been causing all of this ruckus and bringing down basically like the entire judgment of Twitterverse and universe on this man, on Jay-Z and on his family the last, several days. Well, this is the woman. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, it seems fucking stupid to me, but she decided to do an interview with NBC and basically more or less admitted, yeah, I got a lot of shit wrong. And really doesn't have a good explanation for it. Came across looking like a total dumbass. I know some people are saying that she's autistic, or NBC is reporting that she's autistic. Well, that doesn't excuse bullshit and lies and destroying the reputation of someone, but whatever. I know that she's claiming to, and she's not, and she's, by the way, she's not admitting that her story about Jay-Z was false. Like, I believe she's still sticking to that from what I gathered from this, but she's just admitting, well, there are a lot of big inconsistencies here. Yes. I don't know why she did the interview. She comes across, I think, sounding really bad. She's behind a screen, right? Anyway, I don't know what a problem is, but whatever it is, this interview, it's a total catastrophe for her and for her scummy lawyer Busby and all of the people who were jumping gleefully with their pitchforks and, yes, their nooses. Yes, I'm going to go there in a minute. Just couldn't wait to string this guy up. And so she looks bad. And then her father has also spoken out. And he says that he doesn't, because in this lawsuit, she claims that after this encounter or this assault by Jay-Z and Diddy, that she then ran and found her father or called her father. I can't remember, honestly. It's all of these crazy lawsuits just start to run together, honestly, and start sounding the same. But anyway, point is, she had this dramatic claim in her lawsuit about interacting with her father right after this horrible assault and the state that she was in and all of that. Well, her father has come out and has said, I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that. And he said, I'm a busy man, but I kind of think I would remember that. He literally said that. He said, I don't remember it, and I kind of think I would. So there's her dad, her primary witness in this lawsuit, completely invalidating her story. Then it turns out there were all of these other things that she claimed in this lawsuit that have been debunked because they actually could not have happened. Like, apparently her whole sequence of events and the time that she said certain things took, it doesn't line up with where we actually know where Jay-Z was at the time, or documented things going on at that award show or after that award show. There are also people, bystanders, who are not named as perpetrators, but just witnesses, bystanders, and they've said, we weren't there, we didn't see that, I wasn't even there, etc. I think Benji Madden even got drawn into this, and he was like, I wasn't there. Oh, I know some of you will just say, oh, it's part of the conspiracy. The same conspiracy that involves Hillary Clinton and Anne Heche somehow inexplicably, because she died and then she popped up on that chair. And so people are like, oh my God, it must be part of the Hollywood pedophile ring. Some of you are so stupid. So anyway, I know I'm already going to make some people mad. I just don't care. And I'm going to talk about that too in a minute. I have been freed. I'm telling you, this Jay-Z story has freed me from caring about what people think. It really has. It's taken 4 years. And I am finally, it's like that scene at the end of Labyrinth when Jennifer Connelly, right, is standing there staring at David Bowie, and she's been trying to get out of that fucking labyrinth for like 2 hours, and she hasn't been able to do it. And she's like, she's about to just be totally trapped by him, right? And then all of a sudden she has this thought, this revelation. You have no power over me. And she's out, right? Or she defeats him. I don't remember how it goes. Well, I just had this feeling with this Jay-Z stuff, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But anyway, so this lady's lawsuit, it is fucking tanked. And it has, I hope it will have shifted public opinion dramatically, if not in Jay-Z's corner, at least back to where it should have been, which is the presumption of innocence until evidence is supplied. Now, I understand that Jay-Z was good friends with Diddy. I hate saying Diddy too. I'm going to call him Sean Combs. It just sounds stupid. Plus, in my era, it was Puff Daddy. I know that he was good friends with Sean Combs, and I know that Sean Combs now is like emblematic of Satan in our society, and he is now the person, the monster upon whom all fantasies, a whole spectrum of fantasies that people have about how evil Hollywood is, they're all being projected now onto Sean Combs. I'll talk about that in a minute. Grab your rosaries, people. I understand that Jay-Z was good friends with him. I understand that Jay-Z was good friends or was friends with R. Kelly. I don't know how good friends he was. Some people say that. I don't know. I need to look into it. But that alone does not make someone guilty of things. And, you know, these rappers, they all run, these hip hop guys, they all run in these same crowds, or they did for years. And it was obviously a very like fast, edgy crowd. And yeah, there were some people like R. Kelly and others who were doing all kinds of bad shit. I mean, I've never looked into R. Kelly, but I'll just go with that, right? I'll just go with it on this assumption that everybody's right about R. Kelly, right? Okay. I do think that it's very possible to have been running in that crowd and still to not be a rapist or to have committed the things that this woman and people in general in society have been assuming that Jay-Z did. And so that's just not enough, people. You can say that until you're blue in the face. Oh, he was good friends with Diddy. Oh, he was good friends with R. Kelly. What you can say, keep saying it, but it doesn't cut the mustard with me. It is one point of information. It is one thing. It is not nearly enough. Is not nearly enough. And I'll say something else too. This is a little detour, but I'll say something else too. There are a lot of people now clutching their pearls about what was going on or supposedly going on behind the scenes in this hip hop gangster rap world. Bunch of people clutching their pearls who were celebrating this shit 20 years ago. Is it really any surprise? Let me just, for argument's sake, let's just assume that Sean Combs had sex with some underage teenagers. And let's assume that, yeah, he had a lot of guns at his place and a lot of drugs at his place and a pretty sophisticated prostitution operation for himself going. Let's assume all these things. Now, I'm not conceding the rape or assault because I don't know. But let's just assume the things that I've just said. People are acting shocked just about that shit now. And I'm sorry, but I remember the 90s when these guys became famous. I remember the 90s. I've said this before. I was a Southern Baptist, virginal, didn't even drink, didn't even curse, Southern Baptist, East Texas, virginal, conservative girl growing up in the 90s. And if you had asked me, as naive as I was and as sheltered as I was, if you had asked me, hey, what do you think goes on at Puff Daddy's house? Like when he's, hanging out with his friends or having parties or whatever, what do you think goes on? I would have told you, well, I'd imagine there's lots of drugs, there's lots of crazy sex, maybe orgies, there's probably underage stuff going on. I would think, et cetera, et cetera. All of these things, everybody knew this stuff. And I'm not saying that makes it okay. But we all, as a society, we have some responsibility in creating these people and holding them up, uplifting them, and making them these at the time heroes or anti-heroes or whatever, but they were celebrated for this stuff. And I understand that young people now can't conceive of it, and people my age and above are trying to forget about it, I guess, and deny it. Like someone who had, some kind of drunken one night stand, and then the next day they're like, oh, I don't remember, that wasn't me. A lot of us were celebrating this whole ethos of a gangster rapper who was rough with women, right? And drugs and guns and all of that. It was a mythology that a lot of people, particularly Gen Xers and below, people in my demographic, and even a lot of you younger people still have celebrated. Now you can say, well, we didn't think that stuff was really going on. We just thought it was just art and music. Okay, whatever. I think so. Doesn't make it okay. All right. And again, if we're talking about actual non-consensual activity, that's totally beyond the pale. But I'm saying that there also seems to be now a rethinking in society about this whole gangster rap lifestyle and drugs and B. Diddy, he had his servants carrying around pink cocaine in their fanny packs so he could get some whenever he wanted. Oh my God, he was doing drugs in his house. And he had like other people carrying the drugs around for him so he could do the drugs when he wanted to do the drugs. Oh my God. There's just so much silly shit that's getting mixed in with more serious allegations that have yet to be proven. But all of us who were alive and celebrating this stuff, we all had some hand in giving these people, whether we're talking about Diddy or maybe Jay-Z or some of the others, in giving them a sense that they had a license to go right to the edge and maybe over the edge and live these kinds of lives. So it doesn't absolve people of everything, but like the pearl clutching and I had no idea this was going on. I just don't understand it. And this like complete like erasure of memory of what the attitudes were like in the 90s and even in the early 2000s toward hip hop and gangster rap and all this stuff. Y'all, like, I hate how ignorant this sounds, but I'm not really even into music that much. And that's why, like, the Marilyn Manson thing, that's a totally different thing. And I don't want to bring that up until the end. But people are like, oh, how come you don't know much about his music and stuff? And I'm learning, but like, I'm just not a big music person. And I had, as I said, when I was in my teen years, I did not listen to gangster rap or anything, but I had a friend who was really into this music. And she liked, for the two of us, teenager style, right, to just ride around in her car and she would blast these different songs. And so this was my only introduction, honestly, to really any kind of music, and specifically hip hop, gangster rap, and whatever in the 90s. And here's my point that I'm trying to get at, is this stuff was so celebrated in the culture, particularly for being edgy. It was so celebrated, and particularly by a lot of us who were Gen X, millennial, and so forth. It was so celebrated that even someone like me who wasn't into any of this shit, and it was totally out of my milieu, if you will, I absorbed so much of it, and I thought it was cool. It was completely against my whole ethos when I was a teenager of Christian girl, Bible, all of that stuff, but I thought it was so cool. And y'all, I can still remember the words to Jay-Z songs that I heard in the 90s or even in the 2000s. I can still remember the words, not even trying. What's the one? Can you bounce with me? Bounce with me. Bounce, bounce, bitch. Bounce with me. Bounce with me. Can I hit it in the morning without giving you half of my dough? And even worse, if I was broke, would you want me? If I couldn't get you finer things like all them diamond rings bitches kill for, would you still roll if we couldn't see the sun rising off the shores of Thailand? Would you ride then if I wasn't buying? If I wasn't 8-figure nigga about the fame of Jigga, would you come around me? And would you clown me if I couldn't? So I'm not a great rapper. I'm not going to kill your ears with any more of that. But I'm trying to talk about the fact that this stuff was celebrated and now people are acting like they had no part in it. All right. So a lot of us did. And so this pearl clutching is pretty ridiculous. Now, let me say this also about the Diddy thing. I think he's a shitty person, probably. And we all saw him. And I say probably because I don't know. It's possible the guy has made some changes, but probably not. So he's probably still, I would think, a shitty person. But we all saw him beating that woman in the hallway. And I understand that that because of that, Sean Combs he's not defendable. He's just not. And as much as I think that the government is overreaching dramatically in their case against him, and I think it's setting a terrible precedent for future cases, because again, they're not going after him, Sean Combs, for domestic violence or the terrible things that he did to that woman or to girlfriends. They're going after him for prostitution, racketeering, and drugs primarily. And I think there's a whole host of, as a libertarian, of issues wrapped up in that and dangerous precedents that are being set with this RICO stuff. But you know what? I understand. We all saw him beating up a woman in a hallway, and we know he's a shitty guy. And so he's not defendable. He's not. And I'm not going to defend him. The most that I would ever do would be to continue to point out, I think, where the government is overstepping and creating bad precedents. And look, I just want to say also that Andrea Burkhart, she did something, the lawyer who's been on my show before, she did something really brave today, and I really want to give her props and a shout out for this. She posted a critique of the government, the prosecution's legal strategy or behavior. She posted a critique of what they've been doing, one of the things that they've been doing to Sean Combs. And I'm not going to get into it, and you can just go to her page and you can look at it. And it's a complicated thread, and she has multiple posts in there, and it's great. I mean, she's so smart and she knows the law. But basically, the gist of it is that she was pointing out that there's some shady, unethical stuff that the prosecution is doing in the Sean Combs and has been doing in the Sean Combs prosecution. And so what I'm going to do in the future, I can't ignore the Sean Combs thing. I know he's a despicable person, and I think probably karma means that he should spend some years in prison, although I don't know if the life sentence that he's going to get is in order, but I don't know. But I am going to, at times, report on and critique the procedures here. And when I think that the government is overstepping and creating bad precedents, I'm going to critique it. And it's great to see Andrea Burkhart doing the same thing. And I hope that we can sort of join forces at times in that. And I hope that a number of you will be sophisticated enough and charitable enough to understand what I'm trying to do, instead of saying, oh, she's defending Diddy. Oh my God, which I get a lot of. And I have to accept it. And I have to say, you have no power over me, to people like that and attitudes like that. But I'm just telling you for the last time where I'm coming from with the Diddy thing. Let me say it as explicitly as I can. I think that he abused women that he was in relationships with, at least. We all saw him beating the shit out of that woman. I think that he should serve at least several years in prison for that. But I also think that there are dangerous, really bad precedents being set by the government in their prosecution of him, and some of the things they're going after him for, because they're not going after him for the domestic violence. They're going after him for. So I'll be looking into that. And the last thing I want to say on the Diddy thing, or Sean Combs, whatever, is that the guy may be a total scumbag and he may deserve years in prison. But I also see a ton of bullshit that is being now projected onto him in the form of outlandish conspiracy theories, in the form of people now attributing like every kind of terrible behavior to this guy, no matter at times how laughable. People just assuming that he assaulted Justin Bieber with absolutely no evidence of it. No evidence. You're not doing Justin Bieber a favor, by the way, giving him that label. And people saying he's tied in with Anne Heche's death somehow. I mean, come on, y'all. Come on. The conspiracy theories have gotten out of control. And it's not like I don't believe that sometimes conspiracy theories are true. Okay. I don't believe that Oswald killed JFK. And I don't believe the conspiracy against, I'm sorry. I believe that there was a conspiracy against Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson and some of the others that I've talked about, these Me Too hoaxes where crazy ex-girlfriends or ex-wives or whatever got people to join in. So yes, sometimes there are conspiracies, but not all the time. And not every crazy like Illuminati conspiracy that people love to come up with right now. And not everything is Jeffrey Epstein redux. It's not. And yeah, by the way, that guy was a really bad guy. So we go back to Jay-Z. Whatever the case may or may not be about Sean Combs, there has been no evidence so far that Jay-Z was doing anything like what Sean Combs has been accused of. We've gotten one lawsuit that has now been debunked from a scummy lawyer. And that Busby, y'all, he is a total scumbag. And he's brought so far 120, 130 claims against Sean Combs. Now, when I say claims, I don't mean 130 lawsuits, because he put some of these together, I believe, in like larger, like almost like class action type lawsuits. But he's got like, he purports to have like 120, 130 clients that he's representing going after Sean Combs. Now, yes, it's totally possible that Sean Combs was such a bad motherfucker, as Gary Oldman says in True Romance. Such a great role. Gary Oldman as a Drexel in that movie. Maybe he's such a bad motherfucker. I can't do it. I can't do it like he can. But anyway, maybe it's true that Sean Combs is such a bad guy that he legitimately should have 130 people claiming assault and rape and whatever they're claiming. I don't know. Maybe he's such a bad guy that like 1,000 people could be suing him. It's possible. It is possible. But y'all, in this day and age, with the media culture being what it is and celebrity culture and what we have seen, we've already seen so much. We've seen that I would say now we've seen that over 50% of claims of this nature, of Me Too claims against celebrities, turn out to be bullshit. I mean, I just see that they attract these people. They attract so much bullshit, so many crazy people, and so many people who just want money, want a quick payoff, because most of the time that's what it amounts to. This lawyer who's going after Sean Combs and who filed this lawsuit against Jay-Z, he has been bragging. Do you know this? This Busby guy, he has been bragging for weeks, months, really, about how many celebrities he has basically extorted through fear into shelling out money, shelling out settlements. Like he hasn't even had to take, there've been so many celebrities that they don't even challenge it. They're just like, let me write you a check because I don't want what's happening to Sean Combs or Jay-Z or some of these others to happen to me. And so they write a check, and I would too. I would too. If they can afford it, they write it. And the fact that Jay-Z is worth $1 billion fucking dollars, and instead of writing the damn check and getting rid of this crazy delusional woman and this scummy lawyer, instead of doing that, he chooses to come out guns blazing. To me, it says something. No, it doesn't mean automatically we're certain that he's 100% innocent, but it says a lot. It says a lot because he could damn well afford to pay her off. And he's choosing to expose his wife and daughter to the kind of ridicule that they were exposed to a couple of days ago. His daughter had some kind of exciting premiere of something, she was in a Lion King play or something, I don't know. And it was like supposed to be a beautiful, happy moment for her. And instead, people are jeering at her and saying, how could you do this when your dad is a rapist? You and Beyonce, despicable that you would come out and you would portray yourselves in this way and happy and all that. And what kind of dress are you wearing? You're being overly sexualized. It's a princess dress and people are freaking out. Yeah, some women develop earlier, okay? Some women are fully developed at 12. They didn't get her breast implants, people, and it wasn't that provocative of a dress. I'm getting in the shadows here. It's not good. Not good imaging. All right, I need a break. Deal with it. If you're still here, I welcome you back in 5 minutes, and I'm going to talk about Jay-Z more and then move on to other things. All right, back in 5 minutes. I don't like this is in my face. All right. My hair still looks bad, but now at least I have the Christmas spirit. So I'm in a bit of a bind here because it's hot in this room. You took off the jacket, but I'm still kind of warm. It's hot in this room, but we have this annoying, like, what is it, like split level or something air conditioning? I don't even know what the fuck. But we have some kind of newfangled air conditioning or modern air conditioning where for some reason all of the air conditioning units in the apartment have to be set on the same thing, or there's like some kind of big problem or whatever. Everything explodes. No, I don't know. But so I'm afraid to turn the air conditioning on here because I'm afraid he's sleeping and it's going to make this beeping sound when I'm changing settings. I don't know. It's all very complicated. I'm sure you're fascinated by it. All right. So I know it's late. I'm going to like look terrible with all the sweating before too long. So let me get to the point here. I had been feeling for days, ever since this Jay-Z story broke, I had been feeling like it was probably bullshit. At the very least, I was really, really alarmed by the way people were rushing gleefully to declare him. Oops. Oh, 1 second. The cat was about to ruin everything. Okay. By the way that everyone was rushing gleefully to assume that he was guilty, to declare him guilty. Oh, my hair. Sorry. This is why I'm doing this as a rough run through. And I'd been feeling, y'all, for days like this was really fishy, and I hate the lawyer. I've had my eye on that Busby guy for a long time now with this Sean Combs stuff. And again, he might have a number of legit claims against Sean Combs, some of his clients, but there's just a lot of BS there too. I've read a number of those lawsuits. And look, Cassie Ventura's the woman that we saw Sean Combs assaulting. From the very beginning, I thought her lawsuit seemed credible. And if you go back and if you watch the video that I did on it, I said, I think there's a lot of stuff here that could be easily verified. So this might be legit, right? But I'm telling you, if you look at a number of these lawsuits now against Sean Combs, they are just like obviously BS. And maybe it's just because I've been doing this for a while now. I think I have a good BS detector when it comes to these types of Me Too lawsuits and claims. But I just was like, But anyway, the Sean Combs one, though, I read that lawsuit and the claims, and I just thought this feels like BS to me. And then what happened was, if you were paying attention, almost immediately people started coming forward and pointing out contradictions between what was claimed in the lawsuit and the known established timeline, because this woman was claiming, as I said, that there were things that happened before this concert, after the concert, and you know, she was seeing this celebrity and this celebrity walk by or whatever, and then it was turning out that there were all of these claims that she'd made that were being debunked like almost immediately. But the problem was most people were not paying attention to that. And in the meantime, you had such a, not only a media rush, but a rush on social media to condemn this guy and to start bringing up every wild thing from seemingly wild thing from his past or even his music lyrics. I'm talking about Jay-Z, to confirm that he had done this thing. And so I wanted to say more than I did. I know I've said some stuff on Twitter and Instagram, particularly in the last couple of days, but I really wanted to say a lot more. I wanted to make a video sooner, but I held back because, and I hate to admit this, but I held back because to a degree, I really did still care what people thought, and not in the sense of like my ego or something, or my self-perception, like I don't want people thinking badly of me or I don't want to be unpopular. But like a number of people said, if you keep, and I've heard this before, but if you keep asserting that certain men who have been assumed guilty by society are innocent or might be innocent, then it makes you look less credible because it looks like you just defend everybody who's accused of Me Too shit. And it reflects badly on the primary people or primary person that you have been that you've taken so much time and energy to defend, and rightly so, because the guy that you know that we're talking about, Marilyn Manson, I feel like 100% that he is innocent. And I've made like almost 200 videos asserting that. And I'm very comfortable in that belief. But people were saying to me, you take away your credibility when then you say Jay-Z, who everybody not only thinks is guilty, but also thinks is now part of this like demon pedophile ring run by Sean Combs and somehow involving Ellen DeGeneres. I still don't understand that. But anyway, whatever. Ellen, how did Ellen end up in all this shit? So bizarre, dude. Pop culture is so fucking bizarre, isn't it? Bizarre. Go back 20 years and tell my 20-year-old self, or whatever, however old I was, a little older than that, tell her that one day people would be, that many people would believe that Ellen DeGeneres was in a pedophile ring with Puff Daddy. I mean, the mind would boggle if you went back and told me these things. What? Anyways, whatever. Look, I'll give this to you. It was fucking weird when Anne Heche, who was supposed to be dead, when she popped up in that gurney. I'm not going to lie about that, dude. I'm not going to lie. I don't have answers for that. That was fucking weird looking. But I mean, I've read that people who do emergency work for a living, they say that the body, even after it's dead, it like does weird things and twitches. I don't know. It did look weird. But I just don't understand how that fits in with like a supposed Sean Combs, Ellen DeGeneres pedophile ring. That's all. There's a big chunk of that puzzle that I'm missing. Anyway. What was I talking? So I wanted to say more than I did about Jay-Z, but I thought, well, what if it turns out that he is totally guilty? And it's not about being discredited, but like I've spent all this time, saying these things that now make it look like, oh, maybe I'm not right. If I'm not right about this guy, maybe I wasn't right about this guy either, even though the two situations are very different. Uh-oh. All right, all is well. No, it's okay. I just hate waking him up. I hate doing that with this stuff. All right, let me get to the point. All right, y'all, I know it's late. Thank you for staying up with me, letting me rant. I think I can cut this and make it into a good video, but I wanted to do more on the Jay-Z thing, but I did hold back. I do care what people think, and I think mostly for the right reasons, not about popularity or what have you, but about like wanting not to hurt the people and one person in particular that I've already spent so much time rightfully defending, by then making it look like, oh, well, she'll defend anybody. But I really, and I want to say this to you. I really feel like the last couple of weeks I've had a revelation. I don't want to say from God. I'm not like Russell Brand, perhaps. But I want to talk to Russell Brand one day. Russell, I know that I am like nothing compared to you in terms of like your viewership and your reputation, and like I'm nobody, but I would love to talk to you about this religion thing. And I know I post a lot of sarcastic, sort of bitchy shit about your religious experience and your religious journey on my Instagram, and I probably shouldn't do that. And I'm sure there's like a lot of like underlying like anger that I'm not dealing with that's being misdirected at you. But I think we could have a really cool conversation. My background, born again Christian, grew up in the church, went to church 3 times a week, then became basically almost agnostic, atheist, and then now has become a theist, but someone who is really in a crisis of faith and actually, frankly, very angry at God. So if you'd like to talk about any of that, I would love to. But anyway, Russell Brand, I don't know what's going on there. At least he's not shooting up heroin or smoking crack or whatever, right? So I had a revelation, though, seriously, I think the last couple of weeks, and this is the revelation, 2 things. One is that I really don't think that Marilyn Manson needs me to defend him anymore. If he ever did, I mean, even that's probably a presumptuous assumption there to even that. But I do think at a certain point earlier on in all of this, with this hoax and these false accusations that were thrown at Manson, and it seemed like he was canceled for a while. I do think that it was helpful not only to have me out, for people to see me out there not only was it helpful for this movement to have me out there, but other people like Marilyn Manson Uncanceled and the Manson cases, and then a bunch of you others. I don't want to miss people in this or what have you. Stand by your Manson. I think it was really helpful to have people, I would imagine, that he could online, that he could point at and say, no, I am innocent. Here are the facts. You can go here and you can look at this page, Stand by your Manson, and all the stuff that they've got documented here. Or you can go to the Manson cases or Marilyn Manson Uncanceled, or me, for generally less detailed and more ranting, bombastic coverage. And I have to imagine on some level that must have been helpful. But I really think he doesn't need, if he ever did, he doesn't, his innocence and the support that he needs from fans and the public, I think that there's really nothing more that I can do there. And again, if there ever was. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep covering it, because I really have enjoyed the concerts that I've gone to. And as someone who was not a Marilyn Manson fan, by that last concert, if you listen to my videos or you watch my videos from that last concert, the one in Mexico, somebody asked, is that you singing? That is me singing on some of those songs, almost every fucking word to some of those Manson songs. It is, and screaming them. And that is me screaming louder than anybody else. And I wasn't doing it to like put on a show. Like, that's just like, I was enjoying it. I was there. And it was so nice to see him. This is a whole detour, I know. But that it was so nice to see Manson not only performing in front of a ton of adoring fans. And I know I haven't talked about the Mexico thing yet on my YouTube channel. I posted a lot on Instagram, and there's a reason for that. There's something that I want to actually do next week that I want to edit into a larger video about my concert experiences, my experience in Mexico particularly, and some other things. So that's still coming. But it was so nice to see him not only there in front of a ton of adoring fans, but like the performance that he put on at that last show, and really that he's put on in every show that I've seen, except maybe for the first one, which was still great, but it was like hotter than hell there. It was his first show. I don't think anybody was really, including me in the audience, was really feeling it because it was so miserable outside, but it was still good. But after that, the performances were just amazing, and they kept getting better and better. And I don't know, Mexico, it just felt like he was on fire, like he was fucking possessed when he was on stage. And my husband, who came with me, he's not a Manson fan. And frankly, he's been skeptical of this whole thing this whole time. I think he's still maybe only watched like one or two of my videos, because he just sees it as, saw it as this like celebrity kind of thing. Like, what is this? Like I was Perez Hilton or something, right? I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he had like no expectations. He was there with me, I think mostly like afraid that I was going to get kidnapped by a cartel, doing something unsafe in Mexico. No, I don't know. It's not an insult at Mexico either, because actually I thought Monterrey was better than American cities. Now I'm like, I would feel much like safer and better living here in Monterrey than I would in New York City or many of the others, or even where I'm living right now. Anyway, the point is though, my guy who was there with me and had no expectations and wasn't a Manson fan and had really, believe it or not, almost no interest in any of this. His mind on Manson was like changed by that performance. And he said to me afterward, my husband did, he said to me, wow, I gotta hand it to you. I gotta hand it to him. That was quite a show. Like that was really a show. Like he's a real like showman. And he was like dancing and screaming and all that. And I'm like, yeah. And I'll tell you something. I don't know if I should be telling you, because if he hears about it, my husband, he might get embarrassed. But ever since then, he sure has been listening to a lot of Marilyn Manson. And he came in the other day and he said, he started telling me some stuff about like, he had dug up some old, I know this is quite a detour. Sorry. I'm going to get back to the ranting in a minute. We'll finish. I tell you what, we'll finish by 4 for sure. 4 my time. So like 25 minutes. He came in and he had dug up like some old performance of Manson's or one of his first performances. And he was like, look at this. And this interesting how he was doing this and this and this. And I just looked at him and I was just like shaking. Uh-oh. No, but it's cool. And it's just a testament to how awesome that show was and how amazing of a performer he is. It was really something. Anyways, check out video of it online, and the whole concert, people have put the whole concert up, so you should check it out. But anyway, okay. But I don't think I want to keep celebrating Manson and his victories and his comeback and going to more concerts, God willing, and covering the successes and everything, and occasionally covering the soap opera when it bubbles up. But I really don't think that he needs me anymore. If he ever did, I really don't. And so I just don't see a scenario, y'all, where I put out a video defending Jay-Z, or at least pointing to the presumption of innocence, or even put out a video at some point down the road critiquing some of the prosecution's moves, perhaps in the Sean Combs case. I just don't see a scenario where I do that and like anybody of any significance is like, oh my God, she's covering that. So, okay, Manson must be guilty then. Look at this crazy bitch. Just, she thinks everybody's innocent. I mean, really? Nah, I'm not that narcissistic. I know some of you think I'm narcissistic, but I am not that narcissistic. One last thing on that too, is that it's interesting how some people, I know some of you were very well-intentioned and I appreciate it, but some people who were critiquing me or worried about me going down this other road and damaging my credibility for Manson's sake, it's interesting how a number of them were people who I've also seen before saying, oh, she doesn't do anything for him and she's not significant and all of that, right? So, I mean, it's interesting how you can kind of like move some of you the goalpost on things. So one or the other, either I'm not significant, so it doesn't matter what the fuck I say, or I am significant. I don't know. Anyway, ponder that, but I'm going to leave it because I'm going to probably irritate even more Redditors. Oh, the Redditors, they don't like me. I know. My sister, who was also new to this Manson stuff until she went to a concert. Interesting connection here. People going to concerts, catching the Marilyn Manson bug. But my sister, who was not really interested in any of this until she went to the concert, a different concert. And then suddenly she's like, have you looked at what they're saying about you on Reddit? It's like, yeah, I'm generally aware. Oh man. But you know what? Not everybody has to like me. So that's the first revelation was what I just said, that I just don't think that whatever I do or talk about or say, it's going to hurt Manson from here on. Just don't think I have that power. But the second revelation that I had is that I don't think necessarily that my purpose in life is to be popular. And for a while, I had this like hope or dream that I was going to like blow up, like really blow up, like, be huge, like Tim Pool or someone like that. Right. And mostly because I see that when people get to that level, then they have a lot more like creative and artistic like power. Right. And not only power, you know what I mean? Right. But lately I've been having this thought that that's something that may or may not be on the horizon, may or may not be important, but that in the meantime, I really can, I think, as a little voice, make some kind of a difference, even marginally, in some people's minds, at least as like a small voice pleading with some people who are reasonable to stick with their reason. And I think for a while I had this idea that I was going to be this really big channel that would like change people's minds, enlighten people. I mean, it's sort of like Russell Brand, whatever he's doing, right? But a secular Russell Brand. But I've really been feeling lately, like whatever happens in the future, I can't hold back now when there are other things that I want to talk about that I really feel pricking my conscience. And so, I'm just making peace with the fact that a lot of people will misunderstand me, and I'll have to see myself getting quoted by people who are critical of me and misquoted or misunderstood. And, oh, okay, here she goes. She's defending Sean Combs, Diddy again, blah, blah, blah. She defends everybody. I don't, whatever. I've just made peace with the fact that I'm going to just see that, and that's just going to be like part of it, right? Like, like that song, the every rose has its thorn, right? And that's one of the thorns. So that's one thing. And then recognizing that and just being okay with that as the price that has to be paid, being less popular or people misunderstanding or being concerned or upset, right? But I did want to tell you, and I think I'm still going to edit this into the final video. I'm going to edit out a lot of this. But I did want to tell you that, all snark aside, I say a lot of snarky shit on Instagram, and I can sound like a real like bitch at times on Instagram or Twitter. And that's mostly like to try to get attention, right? It's just the nature of the social media beast, unfortunately. But I really understand that people who watch my channel, they're emotionally invested. They appreciate all the work that I've done, years of hard work for Johnny Depp's side, not officially, but like as something that I believed in, and like a lot of people started promoting Johnny Depp's side, and then Marilyn Manson's and some others, and just really don't want to see me like go down a bad path or whatever. And this is what I want to say to you. This is what I commit to you is that I will never extend beyond arguing for the presumption of innocence into asserting that people are absolutely innocent unless I really feel that, as I do with Johnny Depp or Marilyn Manson. But I will really try to make it clear, as I think I have, as much as I can, that there are also cases that I'll be looking at where I am just critiquing the system, or I'm critiquing that particular lawsuit, or I'm just pleading with people to, hey, keep an open mind. This person might be innocent. Okay. And not talking about so much, well, Diddy, but more Jay-Z, right? So understand that. I will try to make that clear as much as I can. And that I'm always thinking about these things. I'm never, it may seem like it, but I'm almost never like rushing rashly headlong into, oh, here's another guy who's accused of Me Too shit, so it's time to defend him. And as I've said before, there are a number of men, not just the big ones, Weinstein or Cosby or whatever, but there are a number of cases where people expected me to defend certain men in these Me Too cases. And I actually came up with a different conclusion. And I'll tell you one just off the top of my head. It's kind of lesser known or random, but the what's that movie, that really depressing movie about pedophiles? A lot of people saw it, got a Sound of Freedom. I'm not saying it wasn't a good movie. It was just as that was depressing. But anyway, so that guy, what's his name? Tim, I'm blanking on it, but the guy that Sound of Freedom was based on, and I have to say, extremely loosely based, that thing was mostly fiction. Okay. Which is one issue I had with that story. But anyway, but the guy that it was based on, it turns out, I think that he was doing some weird, like sexual harassment stuff with women that he was recruiting supposedly to work with him. And there was a lawsuit that was filed, and it turns out some complaints had been made. And this is why he ended up having to leave his organization that he had founded. And I think the Mormon Church actually excommunicate him. I can't remember, but anyway. And I read the story, I read the lawsuit, I read about these things, and I came with the conclusion that I thought, no, not for sure, but that I thought the guy probably done some inappropriate stuff, and it was good he stepped down and whatever, right? So I don't defend everybody, and I'm not going to keep saying this, but for the very last time, people, the very last time, I don't believe that every man accused of this kind of stuff is innocent. I don't believe that in the real world, I think it's probably half or more of the men are guilty. But in these media cases, there is so much, these celebrity cases, there is so much in the way of money, monetary incentives, and lawyers, y'all, that are just trying to recruit clients. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Women don't really, I think, fully often know what they're getting into with these lawyers. There is so much shadiness with all this that, yes, I do think that in these media celebrity cases, a huge percentage, maybe more than 50% of these situations, the guys are innocent. Now, cases where they're not as well, there's a lot of creepy, predatory people in Hollywood. Okay. I've probably read more about the history of Hollywood than most of you have, who think that they're like pedophiles lurking around every corner. So, okay, I get it. But I do think that the presumption of innocence is really important. And look, if we just waited a few days, it turns out that this Jay-Z lawsuit, maybe there will be others, and maybe he did assault people, and I'm open to that idea. I'm not saying that I'm positive that he's innocent or positive he's a great man. I'm just saying that so far there has been one lawsuit. The lawsuit has completely fallen apart, completely in a spectacular fashion. And there's a scummy lawyer at the root of this stuff. And a man who, I know he's lived a rough, at times, like gangster rap lifestyle or whatever, or running those circles, but we have nothing, no evidence of anything has been provided as to what's been claimed about this man. Okay, so Jay-Z. But these lawyers, and I want to say something here about this Busby guy. This guy proudly boasts about his unethical strategies and practices on Twitter, proudly boasts about it. And he's posting pictures of himself in the Marines. I'm serious, this lawyer, the one who's going after Sean Combs and Jay-Z, he's like challenging Jay-Z to kind of a duel, and he's posting his Vietnam pictures and stuff, and like, look at when I was in Nam or whatever. I mean, look, Colonel Kurtz is always impressed if someone was a badass in Nam. I did, my time there too. But come on, this guy is just an attention hound. And he reminds me of Jeff Anderson. Those of you who know about that guy, except worse, I think. Worse. Completely shameless and very, as Andrea Burkhart has pointed out, very effective. Very effective. He scares the shit out of people. He targets really wealthy people. He gets quick settlements from most of them, except for Jay-Z, who decided that he wasn't going to go the quiet route. He could have made all of this go away or never happen in the first place, and nobody would say anything about him. They wouldn't be attacking his daughter or his wife. He's got $1 billion. He could have easily paid this woman off. He could pay this woman off like 100 times over, 1,000 times over, and have tons of money left. He could have done that, and most people would have, but he didn't. So that tells me something about the guy. It doesn't tell me that he's totally 100% innocent, but it tells me something about him. It absolutely does. And this Busby guy, he just oozes, he just reeks like shadiness. I don't know. It's not a clinical term. It's not a legal term. I'm just telling you, he reeks of shadiness, reeks of it. And what's happening now in our modern media culture is that I want you to think of the movie Jaws. Okay. Think of it. You got this shark, right? Or let's say multiple Jawses, these sharks, right? And then let's say you get a swimmer who gets in the water and they swim too far out. And all of a sudden, one of the sharks kind of bites them a little, and you've got blood in the water. Now, what happens once there's blood in the water? You got all of these sharks coming because they know easy, blood in the water, easy. Well, that's what happens in these celebrity cases, is that once there is an initial allegation or set of allegations or lawsuit or what have you against a celebrity or a wealthy person, the blood is in the water, and now you have an influx of all of these lawsuits, potential lawsuits, and you have attorneys actively recruiting people. Y'all, it's like those mesothelioma commercials, okay? If you were ever exposed to asbestos and you have mesothelioma, join our class action lawsuit, call 1-800, except instead of mesothelioma and asbestos and all that, now we're talking about celebrities. If you were ever exposed to Jay-Z and celebrity, a rap after party, And what's coming out about this Busby guy, you can just Google this yourself. I mean, it's 3:48 in the morning here. I'm probably going to get in trouble pretty soon if I stay up later, but you can Google this yourself. This guy has boasted about scaring the shit out of celebrities and just trying to round up as many accusers or possible accusers as he can. He'd boast about this online. And what we're finding out about this guy is that when he tries to recruit women to file lawsuits or join these lawsuits or join these, I should say, in my opinion, extortion attempts, when he tries to recruit these women, he's very heavy-handed. He basically, more or less, it sounds like, tells them what to say or what to claim. If they contradict him, then he applies a lot of pressure, or he just won't, or he just drops them completely. And there are stories that are coming out about this, what this guy is like. I'm not accusing him of breaking any laws. I'm just saying, though, this is the kind of guy we're talking about here. And he's trying en masse to recruit as many potential claimants against these rappers because he knows, and any celebrities associated with them, because apparently a lot of celebrities, including A-list celebrities, have written the check. Okay. He's trying to get as much of this as he can for easy payouts. It's very smart. It's very smart. But this is new media stuff. This is front of culture, and a lot of people still can't see it, even though it's been years. It's been happening now for years, but the progression of it's increasing. And then in cases like with Sean Combs, where the guy is documented as doing abusive shit, as assaulting someone, then you have some truth, some degree of truth that's mixed in here, right? And so then it becomes extremely difficult to separate, okay, what are the BS claims and what are the legit claims, right? And so again, like, I have no doubt that Sean Combs has done a lot of shitty, abusive stuff. The question is, again, like the government and whether they're abiding by constitutional principles. But whatever. I get it. I get most people don't care. And I understand the feelings on Sean Combs. I will not be defending him again. Like I said before, I will not be defending him, nor do I want to. I don't feel inclined to it. I wish that there was a better man sitting in the defendant's chair, because I would really like to expose what the government is doing in this case, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like to Andrea, Andrea, is this right? And she was like, well, I haven't looked into it. Well, she's looking into it now, and I don't want to speak for her, but she posted today about something that doesn't seem right to her. But anyway, whatever. But these lawyers, y'all, you have to understand the game that's being played. And I just don't understand how people who have lived in the world like I have, I think we live in the same world, the same universe. I don't understand why so many of you are so gullible about people making claims potentially for money. I mean, if I were any less ethical, I'm not a paragon of ethics, believe me, but I'm just saying, like, I could see how tempting it would be to go after someone for an easy payout, because you could just say whatever, and then you'd more likely than not hit on a celebrity that would just be willing to write it off in fear. And then you'd get some kind of a payout, maybe not huge, maybe only what some of the Marilyn Manson accusers, I think, have gotten, 100,000, couple hundred, whatever. And a lot of it goes to lawyers, but I can see, well, there's a part of me, there's a Machiavellian, maybe I shouldn't admit this. I don't know. Maybe it's a terrible thing to be telling 75 people in the middle of the night. But there is a Machiavellian part of me that can kind of relate to this scam, the attractiveness of just going after someone with lies, and knowing that you'll probably get some kind of a payoff, like a year, 2 years salary, a nice car, whatever. I don't know. Marilyn Manson. Oh man, can you imagine how bizarre that story would be if I lost my mind and tried to pull some shit like that? Like, I mean, obviously I would be completely discredited by all of the stuff that I've said prior to it, but can you imagine if I did that? Like, do you all ever have this thought that I frequently have this thought that I wish that I could jump into like a parallel universe that would be like a throwaway universe, where the things that I would do in that life would have no consequence, really. And I'm always thinking of things that I would love to do, completely at times unethical or whatever, but just to see what would happen, like the sheer, like, interesting nature of whatever, like whatever comes to mind, right? But yeah, if I lost my mind and tried to do a Me Too claim or a Me Too story on Marilyn Manson, what happened to me backstage at the concert? All right. So anyway, I hope you understand what I've said. I've rambled on so much, but I do want to still talk about. Tell you what, I would love to spend like 5 to 10 minutes on the Cuomo thing, maybe just 5 minutes. And then 5 to 10 minutes on the Tim Pool thing, maybe just 5. We'll see if I can do it. And then a few final thoughts, but give me just a minute to get some water and I'll be right back. I'll try not to stay gone long right now. All right, I'm back. I'm gonna try to seriously, if he's sleeping or able to get sleep, I don't want to wake him again. I'm gonna try to kick it down a little. Can y'all tell me before I do the last part of this if when I'm speaking like this, you still hear me fine? I promise I won't then start screaming and like break your eardrum. You can turn it up if you need to, but let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay when I'm just speaking at this level, because it is late now. It's like really late. It's really late. Do you like ASMR? If I seriously did an ASMR video and just put it on my normal channel and nothing like weird and creepy or like sexualized, like some of it is, but not there's anything wrong with that. But would that be interesting, or would that just be so lame and bizarre that people would be like, what the fuck? But I don't care what people think, right? Remember, I've decided. Okay, so can you hear me? Okay, thanks, Laura B. And by the way, thank you, Laura, for being here without my asking, last minute. And I think, are you the only mod tonight? No, I didn't expect anybody to show up because it's so late. So everybody give Laura B a thanks, either in writing or say a little prayer for her or whatever. Or if you're a Marilyn Manson diehard atheist, don't send good wishes, good thoughts, good vibrations. Let me say this, Marilyn Manson fans. I have with the whole fan culture, I have such a love-hate relationship. No offense, and it's like, who the fuck are you? Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I have such a love-hate relationship with the Marilyn Manson fan culture. But there are some things that you all are just great, absolutely great for, and it's such a pleasure to have you in my life on social media. And I'll tell you one of those things, as someone who grew up Southern Baptist, Christian, East Texas, went to church 3 times a week and was very indoctrinated, very hardcore in that stuff, and has a lot of issues now surrounding it. I love when I want to go on some kind of rant against organized religion or against Russell Brand, and I can post all this shit, all this ranting about Christianity and stuff on my Instagram, and so many of you are just like eating that stuff up. You're right there with me. So I don't know what that means if we're all in deep shit, but and not all. I know there are a lot of Christian fans that Manson has, and again, I'm saying all this like tongue very much in cheek, as the expression goes, but sometimes I do. Sometimes Russell Brand, I don't know. I don't know all the reasons why. I know some reasons why, but he just pushes my buttons with the Christian post. And then I just want to go somewhere and rant. And I'm just like, there's nowhere to go but Instagram, Marilyn Manson fans. Okay. There's one thing I want to say, and this is probably the most controversial thing I'm going to say all night. So those of you, and I forgot about it, wasn't going to say anything, and I just remembered. And so those of you who have managed to hang on for over an hour here till 4 a.m. my time, it's like, for those of you in the East, it's 5 a.m. Go to bed. No, almost done. No, but let me get to the most controversial thing, and I'm not going to stay here very long, but I want to say this when it comes to not so much the Sean Combs thing, but very much the Diddy Jay-Z thing. Maybe not at all with the Sean Combs thing, but the Diddy thing, all these rappers' names, the Jay-Z thing. I can't believe that I'm going to say this. I can't believe that this is going to come out of my mouth. I can't believe it. Given all of the, at times, like political ranting that I've done in various places about some of the stuff that I have. I can't believe I'm about to say this, and it's going to turn some people off and make them mad. I hinted at it on Twitter, and it got some people mad, and they accused me of race baiting and stuff like that. And man, so many people are going to hate what I'm about to say, but I do think there is a racist element in some of this Jay-Z coverage and some of the posts online and some of the attitudes that we have seen in the last few days. Again, I'm not saying that about Sean Combs. It's like, we see him beating the shit out of a woman in an elevator in a hallway. That's justified to think, yeah, that guy's a piece of shit. I hate him, right? But the Jay-Z thing, I'm not one of these people that sees racism everywhere or even anywhere these days very much. Honestly, I've done videos about how screwed up I think DEI is, and the sort of race culture theory that's being taught in certain classes in academia, and that I've complained about how this ideology that's so focused on race and gender and stuff like that is so pernicious and so problematic, blah blah blah. So I'm like really like one of the last people. I can't believe that I'm saying this. It's like only Nixon could go to China, I guess. Some of you won't get that illusion. Look it up. It is an interesting phrase though. But I have noticed in a number of these posts, these Twitter posts, and some of them getting tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands or even like 1 million views and all these likes and stuff. I've noticed some stuff that just seems to me to be leaning really heavily into an awareness of race and of a certain, I guess we could say, stereotype about Black men. And I know some of you are going to hate this so much, but I noticed that there were these pictures that of Jay-Z that kept getting posted, various different posts that different people were doing. And the pictures, I'll try to find it actually in a minute, and I'll bring it up before we leave for the night. But the pictures really accentuate his big lips and his big nose. And everything else sort of melts out of the image, and it's just that, and it's very sort of, stereotypical racial features. And I never noticed stuff like that. I really don't. Or when people say, "Oh, that's racist," or that's doing this or that, I'm like, "Oh, come on, you're reading too much into it." But like, to me, it just seemed kind of obvious. And I think that the fact that he's a rapper, because that has a whole seediness, I understand, associated with it, and there are guys like Diddy or R. Kelly or whatever that are scummy. I understand that then gets layered on top of the race thing. And so it's not like we're talking about, like a really like clean cut, very conservative looking guy who's just getting attacked because he's Black. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's complicated, but I am saying that in some, not all, not most perhaps, but in some of the tweets about this and some of the coverage, I just kind of sense like partially a kind of a race thing going on, and people aren't even aware of it. And I don't know. I ask myself, if Jay-Z, if everything about him were in the situation were the same, but he was white instead of Black, would he be getting at this degree of societal attacks and people who are so like riled up? I just don't know. And so look, this is just a feeling that I have. It's not something scientific. It's not something that I'm going to go out and promote this idea, but I'm just telling you, frankly, as we talk about what I see and what I've seen with the Jay-Z coverage, there's just something on a subjective level that just kind of makes me feel uneasy with regards to the way I think at times race is coming into this. And look, let me just talk to the lefties right now in my audience, because I know conservatives generally are going to be turned off by this anyway, and that's okay. And it may be total bullshit what I'm saying. I may be totally wrong. But let me just say, though, I'm perplexed by those of you on the left who do believe that racism still exists, that it's still a problem, who were a number of you very into like Black Lives Matter and things like that, who have seemingly no problem with what's been going on with Jay-Z and being pilloried in the press and all the stuff that's being projected onto him. No problem with it. No problem that presumption of innocence seems to have gone by the wayside. And I just don't understand that. Like, I think if you're someone who's interested in social justice stuff, then like maybe this is a case. This guy who's being piled on, the celebrity, I know he's got a lot of money and he's married to Beyonce, so people are like jealous or something. But like, I think that this could use a little bit of attention. If you want to focus on race and racial bias, I do think for some people there's something going on perhaps here. I don't know, but whatever. A lot of people disagree, and that's fine. But that's a feeling that I have, just some of the posts and some of the pictures even. I don't know. And one last thing that I want to say about the Jay-Z thing, and then I'm moving on. I just think some of the things that people have been using to assassinate his character are just so ignorant and stupid that my mouth just drops open sometimes when I see them. And I want to give you one example. And again, I don't have it to call up here. I'm going to edit it into the video that I put out tomorrow when I edit this down. But a number of you, if you've been tracking this on Twitter, X, whatever, you've seen this. There is a lyric in one of Jay-Z's rap songs from I don't know when. And it's the context, the larger context of the verse is he's basically saying, I'm a tough guy on the streets. I obliterate my enemies or whatever. If you're familiar with this stuff, like a lot of us should be, since we grew up singing it and stuff and celebrating it. It's just part of the genre. It's not something that people generally took super seriously in the past. But there's a line in there that now that it's just the last few weeks has just been few days has just been getting reposted as like evidence of something. And the line is, pillage your village, rape and burn your women and children, something like that. I could get you the exact lyric, but it's going to be that bad in terms of offensive. And people say, look, he's talking about being children. Well, if you don't understand, if you're completely illiterate and you don't understand what he's actually referring to there, then yes, it makes no sense. But look, he's using a metaphor of like old time conquerors like Genghis Khan and people like that. When he talks about pillaging, that is a reference for people who have some degree of knowledge or education, frankly, to understand that is a particular term that references a particular thing that happened in the past that and when these guys, these conquerors a long time ago would come through, yes, it's in the Bible. Even God says, go and kill everyone. Even God says, even kill the children at times in the Old Testament and kill the pets even, or the calves or what. I mean, I don't know. There's crazy shit in the Old Testament. Russell Brand, let's talk about it. But anyway, I digress. My point is, Jay-Z was actually, if you look at the lyric, I get that it disturbs some people. It's not like a pleasant lyric, but if in the context of the larger song and what he was trying to evoke, and the fact that he was actually trying to be clever and literate there and refer to something in antiquity, that is not him explicitly saying, I'm a pedophile. It's not. It's just not. Now, that doesn't mean that he hasn't done bad shit, but that can't be your evidence. It's not evidence. And what frustrates me is that some of you who have been rushing to judgment on Jay-Z, you've already seen this game being played, and I don't even want to say the name, but you've already seen this game being played with other people where everyone's like, oh my God, look at what he said in this song or in this interview or in this book. He's a monster. I mean, you've already seen this game being played. And so now this man's Jay-Z's rap lyrics that we all celebrated and sang to for so many years, they're being used as evidence that he's done these horrible things and he's being destroyed by it. So no, I don't accept that. And there's just so much silliness. People keep reposting this video of Jay-Z and Sean Combs at, I think, a party. It's really nice and fancy. And they're both wearing colorful tuxedos and drinking, it looks like champagne, and they're in a beautiful area. It looks like some kind of really, really ritzy dinner or outdoor celebration they're having, but they're really dressed up. People keep reposting this and saying, oh my God, this is so, look on Twitter. People keep reposting this short video of those two at this party, this ritzy party in the middle of the day, and saying, oh, this is so disgusting. This is so disgusting. And like, it's proof of something. And so finally I clicked on it because I'm like, oh my God, I want to see, are these guys admitting to something? Like, oh man, we just assaulted a bunch of hoes in there. Life is great. Like, that's what I was expecting to see. But instead it's nothing but a short clip of Sean Combs saying, we're going to take this party to the next level. And it's clearly like a reference to opulence because they're drinking champagne and they're in tuxedos in the middle of the day. And they look like they're in some like really beautiful colonial environment or something. I don't know. We don't know what it meant, but that's nothing. People are losing their damn minds. And I guess that's why I care. I know I don't care about Jay-Z. I sure as hell don't care about Sean Combs. I think he's an asshole and I think he's an abuser. But people, it just bothers me on some deep level to see so many people, I think, of such intelligence who are just not at all, and they're not only hip to the media game and to the dishonesty that is potentially there in these things, but it's like they're not even like, it's not even on their radar. And especially to those of you who've seen other Me Too hoaxes, I get that they're not all the same, but you've seen other Me Too hoaxes and you've seen what the media can do and you've seen what the mob can do and all of this. And yet you don't only fall for it, but it's like then you're critical of people who are drawing attention to it or saying, hey, hold on, wait a minute, let's take a breath, let's see. And I'm not saying shame on you. I'm just saying this is my motivation. It bothers me because what it feels like, and it's always felt this way ever since the original Johnny Depp case and the stuff I got into YouTube talking about, it feels like to me some kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie where these otherwise very rational people in our world, in our society that we interact with every day, what have you, suddenly like they take on this like alien groupthink, and so it bothers me when I feel like I'm one of the only ones, and maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not, but I feel like I'm one of the only ones who's saying, hey guys, wait a minute. Didn't we just learn some lessons from the last time? I know it may not be the exact same thing, but come on, let's hold on. And people like are just like, no, just, you know, I'm sorry, that won't make any sense to you if you've not seen the Donald Sutherland movie, but it's a reference to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the remake. And he turns around and she realizes that he's become an alien. Basically, he's like been absorbed as well. And he's one of them, right? He's been brainwashed or whatever. And then he sees her and he wants to point out that she's there so they can all swarm her and change her. And so he's like, the last shot is, anyway, I guess you have to be there. So yeah, so that's my feeling. I guess that's all I have to say at this point about the Jay-Z thing. And so, yeah, make of that what you will. And hopefully I'll do a live stream, or I will do a live stream maybe in a few days or next week, where I actually have time to look at your comments. I'm going to read through these because I really am interested to see what you've been saying in response for the last hour and a half. But I'll try to be a lot more centered next time on the chat and things. But I just want to get this out now. We're left with two things. It's 4:15. Oh my God, I'm going to be in so much trouble. Okay. Very quick, Andrew Cuomo. I know a lot of you don't care. Hang on though for Tim Pool, and then I'll say one more thing about Manson before I get off. All right. A lot of Manson fans. So if you hang on, give me 10 more minutes. Andrew Cuomo, I know a lot of people on the right don't like him. I know a lot of people are focused still on that whole nursing home story. I would like to tell you, I did look into that nursing home thing, and it's a lot more complicated than his detractors have made it out to be. I'm sorry, a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that is just the truth. And I don't think that he made some horrible mistake with the way that he handled, with the knowledge and the info that he had at that time, with the way he handled the nursing home thing. But whatever, a lot of people are mad about it. I don't know, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. This guy, Andrew Cuomo, I said, what, 2-3 years ago? Basically, the weekend that these accusations came out, we're talking former governor, by the way, of New York. I'm going to be quick here. The weekend that these accusations came out, 3 years ago or whatever it was, maybe almost 4. I read the accusations. I looked into this. I had the same feeling that I've had with other cases where I've turned out to be right. And I'm just like, I think this is bullshit. And then over the following weeks, months, and years, there was just more and more evidence that came out indicating that it was a total bullshit and a hit job. And I think this is a huge story. And it seems like finally, the media are starting to report on it, because one of his primary accusers, she just withdrew her lawsuit against him, her sexual harassment suit, because it was about to be exposed as utter bullshit, because the time had come for her to actually do a deposition, submit testimony, submit evidence. And she knew that she was going to be exposed as a liar. And so she withdrew her suit. This is one of his main accusers. The others have been totally discredited. If you have no interest, man, it's so hot here. If you have no interest at all in this case, I think you still might find my video on it. I did a 20-minute video on it. It's on my channel and on my Twitter highlights. I think you'd still find it interesting, even if you don't care about this case, because actually a lot of it is jaw-dropping. And if you've seen what's happened in other cases, like with the Manson thing, like what happened to Cuomo, I think was every bit as intricate and bizarre and, again, jaw-dropping, right? And whatever you think of his politics or think of him. But here's my point. When I started doing the Cuomo thing, I had a lot of people telling me, why the hell are you focusing on this politician? He's not even popular now. People are mad at him over the nursing home thing or whatever. My significant other, he was like mad. Like he was mad at me that I was defending Cuomo. And I don't know why, maybe sort of political reasons, or I think he just had in his head that this guy was really a creep. That's what he kept saying to me after I put out my first video defending Cuomo. I'm talking about my significant other. I don't think he'll watch. He was really mad. And he was like, I can't believe you waste your time defending that creep. And I said, what do you mean creep? He didn't even have good reasons. I think, he just, like a lot of people, had just read a bunch of shit, and then politically he didn't like him. And so it was a very easy assumption. I mean, he's a very smart guy and doesn't fall for a lot of shit, but everybody falls for bullshit sometimes. Everybody has biases, including me. I admit that. But anyway, here's my point. I'm not bragging on myself, but I'm just saying, for whatever reason, I stuck with this story because I thought, even though at the time, like, it was not on anyone's radar, and a journalist, really, I think Dan Abrams pretty soon started dipping his toe into it, and he ended up uncovering or coming to the conclusion that it was a hoax as well. And then a journalist named Michael Tracy, I think, was pretty early as well, and he's done some great pieces on this. But really, other than like those two and me, insignificant YouTuber, nobody else even questioned it. And that man had to step down. Cuomo had to step down in disgrace. Well, he didn't have to, but basically he did. If he had stayed in there, they would have ended up kicking him out. And it wasn't, by the way, y'all, just a Me Too conspiracy or just an opportunity for some women to file lawsuits or get famous or be victims or whatever, but it was also a political hit job. And I'm not here to rant about the Democratic Party or anything like that, but Cuomo was a moderate Democrat that was popular with people on both sides of the aisle and had done really well during the COVID thing. I know the nursing home, but all those, and I know people hate the COVID restrictions and all that. I hate all that too. Libertarian. I hated all the COVID stuff, mandates. But I'm just saying, this was a man who was felt by most people to be a good man, whatever they thought of his policies or intention or his policies or his strategies or beliefs. But he was a decent man, a good man. And he had this long, proud tradition, Andrew Cuomo, of being in this political family. And like Mario Cuomo, he is one of the greats of the history of the Democratic Party and one of the great politicians of American history, recent history. Mario Cuomo, his dad. And so it's sad that this man, from this long lineage of people proudly serving the state of New York, and someone who I think was a good man, is a good man, and tried his best in that job, whatever you think of what he did or his policies. And he was just torn apart and forced to resign in disgrace over complete bullshit. And it's finally been exposed as such. And now some in the media are starting to cover it. And so you're finally, like today, there's an article getting passed around, major article. It says, has vindication come for Andrew Cuomo? Well, the answer is yes, by the way. And more people, I think, will report on this. And I think he's going to run for mayor. And just for the sake of what he's been put through and how he's come out of that intact and with his honor and dignity, I say I'd vote for him. I don't even care. Whatever his policies are. You can't fuck up New York anyway, much more than it's been fucked up, right? So whatever. And that's not to say that, here's another example of me being right. All that is to say, though, is that I do put a close eye on all this stuff going on. And I really do try to only talk about the things that I think are legit, or where there are legitimate concerns, or where I do think it's a hoax. And there's so many things that I don't talk about or pass up on, or I'm like, I don't know. Or it's just not, I think, that important or interesting. But anyway, that was some really interesting news with the Cuomo stuff. So again, check out the video. I'll link to it below. Even if you don't give a shit, I think you'll really like it because it's also funny. I tried to make it funny because I know politics and people, whatever, right? But I tried to make it funny, and so I think you'll like it. So I'll link to it below. Cuomo video, check it out. Okay, final things. Tim Pool real quick, and then I'll end with something about Manson, and then we'll go. So I have a funny Tim Pool story, and he's probably never going to see this because I don't think he watches my stuff, which is fine. I don't watch most people's stuff. I don't watch much Tim Pool. But I don't know if he probably won't see this, but maybe some of you, you're fans of his, or Brett, if you're still up, maybe you're there. Watch it in a rerun. That show, I swear to God, I don't know why, but every time I go out there, I have some kind of health issue. I mean, if I were Freud, I would say that I was like unconsciously, intentionally self-sabotaging there or something, because I can't wrap my mind around it. I've done all kinds of other shows. I've traveled, to places for concerts, and you've seen the coverage that I've done, sometimes very intense situations or stressful or what have you, right? I've done interviews with other big people. But every time I go out to Timcast headquarters, either to do Pop Culture Crisis, which is what I've started doing, and I've done like 2 or 3 shows with them, or to do one of Tim's shows. The last time I went out earlier was to do the Culture War. And that was, I don't know if that even got yanked, maybe after, because it was put out on Tenet, the Tenet channel or whatever. But anyway, point is, every time I've gone out, I've had some kind of like annoying body related issue that I normally either don't have or it's not that big of a deal. So I don't know what that is about. It's got to be something Freudian. Or here's the other possibility. He does, his studio is out in the middle of fucking nowhere. It really is. Like, I feel like when I go out to Timcast, that I am making some kind of a religious pilgrimage because I'm like, like 40 days and nights in the desert or whatever to get there. Because it is really in the middle of fucking nowhere. And which is his prerogative to live out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And it's beautiful. I mean, again, his prerogative, and he's not forcing anyone to come out of there. This is going to come across like I'm bitching, but I'm just trying to explain, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my health issues. And so I get motion sick. I get really pretty badly motion sick. And this drive is beautiful, but it's like, it used to be, anyway, I don't want to get into talking about his place or where he lives or giving away information. I don't know if people know that or don't know things or whatever. But he lives out in the middle of nowhere and it's really like hilly, almost like you feel like you're on a roller coaster. And so I get motion sick. And so that's one thing is like, because I've already been on a plane for several hours, and so by that point, I really do feel pretty wrecked. And then, but that still doesn't account for it. So I don't know, but let me just cut to the chase. The first time that I went on Pop Culture Crisis, I can't even remember what the issue was, but there's some kind of an issue. Maybe I was just really, really motion sick. And then I was sick through the rest of the thing. The second time when I went on the Culture War show and then Pop Culture Crisis again, I was afraid of getting sick. Right. And so I had taken anti-sickness medication, but as you know, that can make you really drowsy. And I wasn't really like thinking through things very well. So I was okay for the Culture War show, but for some reason I got really sluggish by the time Pop Culture Crisis came along. And so I was like, well, do I want to do this and look like I'm really tired, or do I want to not do it? But I thought like I can push through this. But when you watch that one, I don't even remember what the episode was. And like, but it's laughable to see at times, occasionally the camera would catch me and I would kind of be almost dozing off, not because it was boring. But I was like sick and I had thrown up earlier in the day and I was taking the medicine and tired and just done the show with Tim. And Tim and I had gotten in that episode into some really intense debates. Shane Cashman was there too. And so it was mostly a three-way interview, but there were times when it just was like Tim just throwing stuff at me. It was great. Like I really liked it. It felt like a real debate, right? But I was worn out. And so anyway, that was that. And then this last time, so here's the story. You're going to like, y'all are falling asleep. Like, this is the most boring story where you're going, okay, it gets better. And I'll do it fast. Here's the funny thing. I had decided that I was going to try to needle Tim a little bit on this show. I was going on IRL. And I felt like the first time that I'd gone on when we had done the Culture War, that it was a good show. It was a good episode, I thought. And I thought that it was an interesting conversation, but I felt like I'd been a little bland. Because, sometimes I come across, I think, like with a lot of confidence and personality, and I'm combative at times in these videos, right? But I felt like because I was trying to be likable and look like I'm open to other things, facilitate a good conversation, all that I came across as a little bland. And so this time I decided, not that I was going to go on there and be a bitch or whatever, but that I was going to go on and I was going to needle him a little bit, even if he ended up like finding it insulting or whatever, or maybe ruin the show, or like I wasn't going to be extreme, but I was just going to do some little things. Let me give you an example. So like a month ago, Tim announced on IRL that he was probably going to shut down IRL and maybe some of his other shows. And he talked for 2 hours. He had a guest there, but he talked basically for 2 hours about his frustration with his business operation and with some of his employees. And I don't know, life. It was like an existential, like venting session or whatever. But he was saying like, I don't think this show is going to be around anymore. I think we're shutting it down. So I had in my head that like when our video started, when we started the stream, and he would say to me, glad to have you here, or something, that I was going to say something like, well, I'm glad to be here. This show is like an endangered species now, huh? It's on the endangered list. And then I was going to come back with something too, like, or have you brought it back from the brink? Things are okay. This might have been disastrous, by the way. So God probably actually saved me from disaster by creating another health crisis. But I'll tell you about it in a second. So I was gonna crack some jokes like that and kind of needle him a bit there, and then also I was going to try to work into whatever topics he chose, like some of my like critiques or of some of the stuff that he posts sometimes online, some of the stuff that he says about like women and gender. And I don't even know. It's like 4:30 in the morning. Oh my God, I'm going to be in so much trouble. But anyway, here's the punchline though, with the Tim thing. I got to go to bed. Somehow I scratched my eye right before I went on. I mean, I guess like repositioning my contact or something. I don't know. I never do that. It never happens. And I scratched it or did something to it. I don't know. And as soon as I went on that show, and for the next 3 hours that I was on that show, it felt like someone was stabbing me in the eye with a knife every 15 to 20 seconds. And I tried, and my eye got really, really red. Now, fortunately, just one did, so it didn't look like I was just really stoned. Maybe that would have been better, actually. I don't know, but one of them got like blood red, like pink eye red, and so I had bangs that I was like trying to cover. Like, you can go and laugh at me, that's fine. Go to this episode, and you'll see. I just taped. You'll see my hair. Like, there are times when my hair is just like all the way like covering my face, like some mask in Phantom of the Opera. I mean, it does look ridiculous, but I didn't want the audience. I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want the audience thinking, oh, she's got pink eye or something gross right there. Like, I don't know. And so also at the same time, because I was in so much pain, I began to cry, not only from this eye, but also from this eye, more so from the beet red eye that felt like someone was stabbing it every 15 seconds. But then also from this eye, I'm just having like tears coming. And then I guess because everything was so sort of messed up here, my nose starts running. My nose starts running. All of this like set in like very fast. 1 minute everything's fine. I'm very confident. I'm going to go in here and like kind of get a little punchy at times or whatever. And then this happens. And I'm sitting here feeling so embarrassed because I know that the camera is not probably catching a lot of it, but I know in person, Tim is sitting right across from me. And again, like, I don't want to say anything about like him or the show or anything like that. I'm just talking about me. But he's sitting right across from me. I know he can see all of this. And it's mortifying. I mean, especially someone like Tim Pool. I mean, I can disagree with him, or he can get on my nerves with stuff he posts sometimes or whatever. But like, he's a big fucking deal. He's like a star in this thing. And I really wanted to impress him, and not in a weird way, but I'm just saying I really wanted to impress him or make waves or something, dude. And instead, like, it's like the final scene in The Substance, not to give anything away, dude, but I felt like I was turning into that thing at the end. He was so nice about it though. And at some point it became inevitable, and the other guys were too. At some point it became inevitable that something had to be said because people were posting about it on like, what's the deal over Hyan's, like what's going on, right? In a nice way. Like the audience, they could crack jokes. I was totally fine with that, but they were nice. And so finally, like, I was like, well, at first I was like, said I had allergies, but then because I thought maybe that's easier to explain, but then no, I'm just like, scratched my eye. I'm an idiot. I scratched my eye. And so anyway, I continued for 2 hours trying to more or less partly hold up my end of the conversation while all this stuff is happening. You'll see every now and then I'll try to sneak like a tissue in because my nose was running. My nose might have even actually dripped on camera at certain times. I don't know how much the camera was getting. I can't bring myself to look at it just more than like a 20 seconds of it. And so what was funny though is I made it through 2 hours, and then the pain just got too intense in the third hour. I could not keep my eye open. And so there's a third hour that Tim does, like an after party, or for his Patreon people or his members or whatever. I don't know his business structure, but there's a third hour that he does of this chat that's just exclusive to that. So thank God, I don't think it was hundreds of thousands of people, but it was still people, right? And so I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I sat there at the table with the other guys, and the show was just going on, right? And I put my head in my hands, close my eyes, and I just sit there for an hour like this on camera with my eye covered. And I kept trying every now and then, like I was listening to what the guys were saying. And so like every now and then you'll like hear me sort of pop up and out, and I'll like try to say something to Ian, like covering one eye. I was trying to argue with Ian Crossland at one point, and I was like, but do you really think that's justified? So anyway, my whole point is I had these like grand designs of making a splash on Tim Pool, and I totally, I guess unconsciously self-sabotaged. And so I ended up being like this meek little like lamb, and just kind of every now and then I put something out there for conversation. Uh-oh, my light just went out. That's probably a sign. But Tim is a super smart guy, even the things that I don't agree with him on. And the only thing that really irritates me is when I feel like he did with that tweet this last week about women. He tweeted Name for me one thing that a woman is good for. And he said, I'll wait, and then checkmate. Now, look, I know it was an obvious troll. I know it was. And most of the women running his show and stuff, most of the people running his show and stuff for helping with that are women. So I know that he really does value women professionally. And I shouldn't have taken the bait. But stuff like that, what bugs me is when people then, like Tim, I see him doing this, will claim, why did you react to that? I was obvious. I was just joking, right? And there's a sort of a wink quality at times of like, don't tell me what I just did, that we all saw what I just did, right? It was something else. And if you don't get it, that's on you. That's on you, right? That does irritate me a little. But he was really nice to me. I don't think I'll ever be able to needle him on a show again, I think, because he was so nice to me, and he could have ridiculed me. I'm not that I would have expected that. I didn't think he would not be a gentleman in person, but let me just put it this way. Everybody sitting there at that table had to have been at some point or another thinking, what the fuck? And the fact that they acted like nothing was wrong, kept going, even would pass me a note occasionally, like, I have some contact lens solution in my car, which so they were really nice. But anyway, okay, last thing, Marilyn Manson. Y'all want to hear a funny Marilyn Manson story from the concert when I was lucky enough with some other people to hang out with him for 10 minutes in this last concert? You want to hear something funny? And this is totally something that I can share and that won't be misunderstood or get me in trouble with anybody, right? So me and Paula, Manson's, friend, former assistant, and my husband and another friend of mine who were there, they were going to be, Manson and Lindsay were going to be gracious enough to talk with us, say hi, and talk with us for like 5 or 10 minutes. And we also got to, I have to say, it was amazing, meet the other members of the band, except for Reba. I don't think she was there, or she had already gone on or something, right? But anyway, and I'll talk about some of that, in a future time or whatever. But here's a funny story. So we were waiting to get brought back where they were by security. And there were these two Manson fans who definitely didn't belong there, but they were ballsy as hell and they were perceptive, and they had seen us break away from the crowd in the back or whatever and come back here to this more private area. And I guess we just had this air about us of like, we knew where we were going, right? Like we were supposed to be there. I don't know. And so these two Manson fans, it was two guys, I think it looked like they were in their maybe like early 20s, but I'm not sure. But anyway, so they like stealthily joined our group. And so we're waiting there and I see these two guys and they don't belong. But I think, well, who am I? They're probably just friends of one of the band members and they're supposed to be here. And like, it wouldn't even occur to me to question. It's not my place to question who else is going to get to go back, to this sort of impromptu meet and greet or whatever. Right. So anyway, so the security comes out and gives us some instructions and says, okay, we're going to go back there. And these two guys, they stay at the back, but a bit to the back of us, but they're coming with us. Right. And again, like, it kind of looked a little weird to me at first. I was like, I don't recognize these people. But again, who am I, right? And nobody else was saying anything, I guess, because they assumed as well. And so we get then to sort of this entrance to then the area where some of the band members were hanging out or getting ready to leave or whatever. And Manson was there and his wife, Lindsay, was there. And again, I said, Paula was there and then my husband and my friend. And so Paula, it turns out, she is sharp as a fucking tack and nothing gets past her, because the whole time that these guys think that they've got it made and they've fooled everybody and and I'm not saying anything, I'm not thinking anything of it or whatever. She had her eye. I'm talking about Paula that I've interviewed, Manson's former assistant and good friend and Rock of Gibraltar over the years, honestly. She had her eye on these guys, these interlopers, from the beginning. She had their number. And so as soon as we got to, Lindsay had come out kind of ahead and the rest of the band and Manson were kind of behind, whatever. As soon as Paula got to Lindsay, she said, I don't know these guys. And so then at that point, it had to be done. No offense to these guys, if you ever see this, but like nobody knew who you were, right? And so at that point, Lindsay is like, tells security, and so security, like something from a movie or whatever, takes these guys, not manhandling, not rough, but the guys aren't wanting to go, and so security is kind of like having to pull them. And these guys, these two fans, bless their hearts, I really respect you, even though you were doing something a little sneaky and deceitful there, but I really respect your effort here Honestly, I respect it because these two guys were not going quietly into that good night. As they're being pulled away, as they're being pulled away by security, they're throwing these longing looks, these devastated looks at Lindsay, like almost like they're being sent to their executions. I mean, the longing, the betrayal, the wistfulness, the, holding out even as they're being dragged away. And one of them looks at Lindsay as he's being dragged away, and he says in a very light, plaintive voice, "Lindsay." And then the other one says, "Lindsay." And she says, "I'm sorry, she doesn't know you." She was very, very nice. And then that was it. They were taken away by security. Now, I know some people on Reddit are going to be like, "Oh, she's bragging about how she got to meet Manson." And then she was saying these stupid fans, like, they weren't good enough to get in. No, sit down, calm down. I'm just saying it was fucking funny because, and I actually kind of respect it because these guys were not giving up on their dream. They were this close to the summit of Everest, and it must have been absolutely devastating to have to turn around. Absolutely. So I feel your pain. If by some chance you ever see this, I just want to tell you that I present to you, the Colonel Kurtz channel presents to you two the ultimate dedicated fan award. Ultimate, because you went above and beyond. And I think I'm about to get in trouble. I'm sorry.